What's up, Bucs fans and Pewter people? Bailey Adams from PewterReport.com here with you as we continue our Bucs 50 Most Memorable Games series leading up to 2025 regular season, the Bucs 50th season as an NFL franchise. We are looking at some of the most memorable games in Buccaneer history, obviously from 1976 through 2024. We are now into week 5 of this series, which means we are 20 games down, and by the end of today's video, we'll be halfway through our series. We'll have 20 games, 21 through 25 this week, and we'll keep it going with 5 games at a time every Thursday until we wrap up with games 46 through 50, just days before the season opener at Atlanta in week 1, first weekend in September. If you missed last week's video, we covered games 16 through 20 on our list, which covered between 2000 and 2003. We got finished up with the NFC Championship game last time around. Of course, if you missed that video, it is right here on our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel if you want to catch up. So, like I just mentioned, we finished last week's video with the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, the big win over Philly at Veterans Stadium, shutting down the Vet. So, of course, we start this week's video with Super Bowl XXXVII, the Buccaneers playing the Raiders in San Diego. And this was obviously, the Pirate Bowl, the Gruden Bowl, Bucs' first ever Super Bowl appearance, and it was memorable for almost everything that happened. It was quite the game for Tampa Bay. This was the league's number 1 offense in the Oakland Raiders going up against the league's number 1 defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was a 3-3 game after one quarter, and then the Bucs went up 6-3 before a Mike Allstott 2-yard touchdown run and a 5-yard touchdown pass from Brad Johnson to Keenan McCardell made it 20-3. McCardell then caught an 8-yard touchdown from Brad Johnson in the third, and then the interception and the pick six party started. Dwight Smith had a 44-yard pick six to make it 34-3. The Raiders did put up a bit of a fight. They came back to cut it to 34-21 by the 6:06 mark in the fourth, but a 44-yard pick six by Derek Brooks with 1:18 to go, and then another one just for good measure, a 50-yard Dwight Smith pick six with 2 seconds left sealed the deal, gave Tampa Bay its first Lombardi trophy. It was magical night for the Buccaneers franchise. John Gruden in his first year with the Bucs gets them to the promised land. They win it. See him here with Mr. Glazer, one of the iconic images in Buccaneer history. And this was all about the Buccaneer defense. I know the offense got them the lead, but it was the Buccaneer defense intercepting Rich Gannon 5 times with 3 pick sixes, 2 by Dwight Smith and another by Derek Brooks, and another 2 interceptions by the Super Bowl MVP, Dexter Jackson. I know there is the long-running argument that, and it to this day, I think, continues that Super Bowl MVP voting is done too early in the game. And, when you see a second pick six get added to the stat line for Dwight Smith, that kind of feels unfair that he isn't recognized for it. But Dexter Jackson, obviously, those 2 picks, very important in the game as well. Tampa Bay also had those 5 sacks with 2 from Simeon Rice and 1 each from Greg Spires, Ellis Wims, and Warren Sapp, sealing the deal for Tampa Bay, their first ever Lombardi trophy. Look at that logo. Look at that Super Bowl XXXVII logo on Warren Sapp's jersey right here. It just makes me nostalgic, makes me miss the fact that the NFL used to do unique logos for the Super Bowl rather than, this minimalist, I don't want to call it garbage, but this minimalist stuff that we're getting year in and year out. I miss they had some character and some charm to them back in the day. So I digress. But anyway, this is the 21st game on our list. Buccaneers beating the Raiders 48-21 for their first ever Super Bowl victory. And just so many iconic moments from the game, so many iconic images. Obviously, you got the statue inside the lobby of One Buck Place where John Gruden and the Buccaneers sideline is celebrating that pick six and, near the end of the game. And it just was the memory for so many Buccaneer fans, up until obviously they won the Super Bowl in 2020. This was the moment of glory, capping off a great season and a great era of Buccaneer football. We'll move on. Actually, it's a funny stark contrast as we move on to our next game on this list, because I think of the 50 games I have on this list, there are only 2 losses for the Buccaneers. I was trying not to focus on, memorable games for the wrong reasons or are memorable games that the Bucs ended up losing, but some of them were just too crazy and too memorable to pass up. We'll get to the second one, I think, much later on this list, but this one is the Buccaneers and the Colts on Monday Night Football in 2003, October 6, 2003. This was a comeback game for Tony Dungy on his birthday too, which is something we talked to him when he was on the Pewter Report podcast last year about this game, and it may come up again when we have him on the Pewter Report podcast this coming Monday, August 4th. But this was him, reunion / revenge. It started not too well for Coach Dungy, but really well for the Buccaneers. A 74-yard touchdown pass from Brad Johnson to Keenan McCardell and a 57-yard fumble return for a touchdown by McCardell. Add in a 3-yard touchdown pass from Johnson to Reggie Barlow. It was 21-0 Bucs, and it looked like they were on, they were in a roll. McCardell scored another touchdown to make it 28-7 late in the third quarter, and then a 29-yard pick six by Rondé Barber made it 35-14 with 5:09 left. How did it all go wrong from there? A 90-yard kick return led to a James Monroe 3-yard touchdown with 3:43 left. Indianapolis would then recover the onside kick legally, which I don't know. I don't know how much we give attention to that these days when we talk about this game. But an illegally recovered onside kick that stood as called and gave the Colts a chance to continue this comeback. That led right to a 28-yard touchdown pass from Peyton Manning to Marvin Harrison with 2:38 to go. That made it 35-28. The Buccaneers had to punt with 1:48 to go, and that led to an 87-yard touchdown drive led by Manning that ended with a 1-yard Ricky Williams touchdown with 35 seconds left. Then came overtime. The Bucs had obviously blown this massive lead, a 21-point lead. Then comes overtime when Mike Vanderjagt missed a 40-yard field goal to keep things going, but Simeon Rice was called for leaping. Older Buccaneer fans, this is somebody I talked to Mark Fisher, Rev Fish, at Tuesday night's Bucs practice, and he said he didn't want to hear about it. He didn't want to hear leaping on this memorable games list. Didn't want to talk about it. Sorry, Mark, it is here. This was again another moment in this comeback that shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have been called, probably. And when something happens like this, when you have a game like this, everything has to go wrong for you to blow a lead. And that includes the illegally recovered onside kick. That includes the leaping penalty on Simeon Rice. And then, of course, the next kick, Vanderjagt was partially blocked, and it hit the upright, but it doinked in to give the Colts a 38-35 overtime win in a game that they trailed 21-0 and 28-7 and 35-14. It got away from the Bucs, and it was a memorable game. I mean, it's one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history. The Bucs were on the wrong side of it, obviously, and it was a good Christmas. It was a good birthday present, early Christmas present, I guess, for Tony Dungy in his return to Tampa with the Colts. So we will we'll erase that right now from our memory. We'll move on to another Buccaneer victory. And that came, or jumping up to 2005, September 25th, 2005, and rookie running back Cadillac Williams leading the way to a historic win. Cadillac ran for 158 yards. He went over 100 yards for the first 3 games of his career, and that led to an NFL record of 434 yards over a rookie's first 3 starts. So history in the making for Cadillac Williams to start his career. The finest margins made the difference in this one, as a missed PAT by Ryan Longwell in the first quarter ended up being the difference. Brian Griese threw a 5-yard touchdown pass to Joey Galloway in the first quarter, and a 10-yard connection between the two in the second helped the Bucs grab the lead. And then the Bucs went up 17-6 before Green Bay came back to make it 17-16 with 7:18 to go. But from there, it was Will Allen coming to the rescue for the Buccaneers, intercepting Brett Favre later on before Cadillac Williams put the game away. He helped the Bucs run out the clock with runs of 6 yards, 4 yards, 4 yards, and 3 yards before a third down conversion from Griese to Ike Hilliard. From there, Cadillac ran for another 5 yards and then 24 yards to ice the game. This was the Bucs' first win at Lambeau Field since 1989, coming here now in 2005. And it was a lot on the back of Cadillac Williams, but it was also Ryan Neese and Greg Spires both having sacks, Will Allen having 2 interceptions, including that key one against Brett Favre late in the game. Brian Kelly also had another interception, and of course it was number 24, Cadillac Williams, being the big star of the day for the Buccaneers in a historic win at Lambeau Field, their first in over 25 years. I might have done the math wrong on that, but first win since 1989 at Lambeau Field. Big deal for Tampa Bay in this 05 game. This was a season that was full of exciting games, really, because as we move on here, we only jump ahead about a couple of months into November 13th, 05. The Bucs and the Redskins, 36-35, a Buccaneer win, and this was a chaotic shootout for these two teams. Mike Allstott led the way early. He had 2 rushing touchdowns to help the Bucs establish a 14-3 lead, but then Liddell Betts returned a kickoff 94 yards to set the tone for what ended up turning into a shootout. Chris Sims hit Joey Galloway for a 24-yard touchdown to make it 21-10, and then a John Hall field goal made it 21-13. Tampa Bay heading into halftime. The Washington cutting into the lead right before halftime. Out of halftime, Washington scored 15 straight points on 2 Mark Brunell touchdown passes, as well as a 2-point conversion from Brunell to Clinton Portis. So it was a Washington lead from there, and it only got more chaotic. Ike Hilliard caught a 4-yard touchdown pass from Sims to make it a tie ball game at 28 going into the 4th, but then a Clinton Portis touchdown with 8:19 to go made it 35-28 in favor of Washington. Sims would then later on lead a drive to go on and find Edel Shepard for a 30-yard touchdown with 1:05 to go. And again, I say chaos. It elevated even more after that, because on Matt Bryant's PAT, LeVar Arrington was called for delay of game. And when Bryant missed the PAT, Walt Harris was called offside. So that moved the ball up, and the Bucs opted to go for 2. And then from there, you got to give the ball to number 40, the A-Train, Mike Allstott. He gets the ball in on just an incredible second effort, get him over the line. And then one final stop for the Bucs, finished off a 36-35 win that snapped a quick 2-game losing streak and got the Bucs to 6-3 on the year. Of course, they would go on to win the NFC South that year. And really, the star of this game, I haven't even talked about him yet. It was Simeon. It was funny, in a offensive shootout, it was a defensive star of the game as Simeon Rice. He was the star of the day. 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and an interception. I don't know how often, if ever, you're going to ever see a stat line like that. Just an absolute menace off of the edge. And it will be so exciting later this season, in the Bucs' 50th season, to see Simeon rightfully inducted into the Ring of Honor, and a guy who has Hall of Fame credentials, has the case to be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. It'll be exciting for now, though, to see him in the Bucs Ring of Honor where he belongs. And now we are on to our 5th and final game of this video, our 25th game on the list overall. So we're just getting to halfway through this 50 memorable games list. This one is, again, later in 2005. It's on Christmas Eve. The Bucs and the Falcons. This one had playoffs on the line for both teams. The Bucs had beaten the Falcons 30-27 at the Georgia Dome a month earlier. And then this one was a thriller at Raymond James Stadium on Christmas Eve. Michael Vick and Chris Sims both had 2 touchdown passes in the first half of this one. But a 31-yard field goal by Todd Peterson gave Atlanta a 17-14 lead going into halftime. Out of halftime, Matt Bryant hit a 50-yarder with 9:01 left in the 4th to make it a 17-17 game, and it went on to be a little crazy from there. TJ Duckett ran for a 2-yard touchdown with 4:18 left to give Atlanta a brief lead, but the Bucs came back with a 6-yard Cadillac Williams touchdown run with 25 seconds to go, and that forced overtime. And overtime, I think the theme of this video, after obviously the Super Bowl victory, the theme of this video is chaos. It is absolute chaos, because overtime, an insane sequence of events. Edel Shepard fumbled the opening kickoff, and that led to a 20-yard game-winning field goal attempt by Todd Peterson. But with fans probably already hitting the exits, and they couldn't believe this one slipped through the Bucs' fingers. Peterson's field goal, 20-yard field goal, was blocked by Dwayne White, and the Bucs survived as the game went on. Later on in overtime, Matt Bryant then sent a kick wide left after the Bucs got all the way down to the 9-yard line. So the game continued. The two teams traded punts there, and then the Bucs did just enough to set up a 41-yard field goal by Matt Bryant with 15 seconds left in overtime, avoiding the tie and getting the Bucs a very big win in their pursuit of the playoffs. Because with a Dallas win over Carolina that day, this win set Tampa Bay up for a division title clinching victory over the Saints in Week 17. So this was a massively important game, and you see here on Chris Sims' jersey, they've got the 30th season patch, finishing up the 30th season with an NFC South title. And now here we are, 20 years later, getting ready for the 50th season. And as I say, that is where we end this week's video. We're 25 games down. We've got 25 to go over the next 5 weeks leading up to season number 50. We'll be picking back up in 2006 next week, and that video will carry us all the way into 2012. So I want to thank you guys all so much for watching this series, following along with this journey through Bucs history. Hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. It's been a lot of fun doing the research and putting this together. I know I was talking again with Mark Fisher at the Tuesday night practice, and you know, he's given me some pointers and a little bit of criticism, some friendly criticism about some of the games that I've had to cut. It's been difficult to do that. It's been difficult to get this list down from 80 to 50, covering 50 seasons, the 49 seasons, I guess, heading into the 50th season. So it has been a lot of fun, though. I'm enjoying it, and we will continue this series every Thursday throughout training camp and the preseason, and conclude it on September 4th with games 46 through 50. But until then, obviously, be sure to stay tuned to pewterreport.com, Pewter Report TV, and all of our social channels as we continue to bring you the best Buccaneer coverage around all throughout training camp, the preseason, and into the regular season. Obviously, we are well into training camp by now. The pads are on. We've got practices nearly every day, and we've got content all over pewterreport.com, Pewter Report TV, and then our social channels at Pewter Report. So thank you all for your support, and thank you for watching this video. And we'll see you next time for another edition of the Bucs 50 Most Memorable Games.